Hey, come here, quick. All right, so since that last harvest video was so insanely popular, and since the garden is absolutely full of vegetables, we're gonna go and see what we can find again today. So some of you might remember a reel I posted a couple of months ago about making the most out of unused spaces, where I planted 4 or 5 squash and pumpkin plants into this compost heap of mine. And we're gonna come and take the first one out of here now. So this is a Crown Prince squash. There's probably about 15 or 20 of these in there, and then some spaghetti squash as well. So we're gonna go and grab 1 or 2 of those. And this is a spaghetti squash. So I just dug a few potatoes out of here, and then I almost stood on it actually. There is a squash here, and these are amazing. This is called uchiki curry, or red curry. It's one of my favorite varieties of squash. Not nearly as big as something like a butternut squash, but the flavor is much more intense, and they have this dark orange, almost red flesh on the inside, same like the outside. These are really special. And a lovely sunflower to take inside for a bit of colour. This is a lovely head of celery. So if you were thinking that this kind of looked like a sunflower, you'd be correct. These are closely related to sunflowers, but it's called a Jerusalem artichoke, also known as a sunchoke. Under the ground there, underneath these plants, are loads and loads of really delicious tubers. So we're going to dig up a few. I'm just going to get these out of my way. These are called Jerusalem artichoke tubers. You can cook these much like you can cook a potato. They're a starchy root, but they're even easier to grow than potatoes and really, really productive. Okay, next we got some parsnips in here. I'm gonna need the fork to get some of those out. Where did they go? There's one. Nice, look at that. Beautiful. Before everyone says it, these are not edible. But even if they were, I'm not wasting it. I'm putting these back where these parsnips were growing to mulch that bare bit of soil, and they'll rot down and feed the soil there so that the ground is nice and covered, protected, and it'll be fertile, ready for the next crop that I plant. I'm gonna get myself a lovely bunch of thyme. I like to mix my herb plants, like my thyme and some rosemary back there, in so that they're easy to find. I'm kind of stepping past them as I'm harvesting veggies anyway, and brings in a bit more diversity. And plants like this are really, really good for beneficial pollinators and stuff, so they kind of enhance the entire ecosystem a little bit while giving me nice harvests for my dinners. It's just started lashing with hailstones, so I'm sheltering in my tool shed. Taking a pause before I continue harvesting anymore. It's the joys of a lovely Irish summer here. One of the best things about growing your own food is you get to choose all these varieties that you just can't buy in the shops. You know, you go and you buy a tomato in the shop and they pretty much all look the same. Something kind of like that. And there's nothing wrong with these, but when you get the choice between those or tomatoes like these, let me show you a few of them. Look at the colour of these. So these are called atomic grape, and they're totally unlike the tomatoes you buy in the shops. The flavour and the texture of these is unbelievable, really. Wow. I strongly recommend you try this variety. These are one of my favourite tomato varieties. These are called Sun Golds. They never go red, they only ever stay orange like this, and they are one of the sweetest and juiciest types of tomatoes that I've ever tasted. They're so good. Heaven. You can see where they get the name Sun Gold from. Beautiful colour. Would you believe it? Grapes in Ireland, huh? Amazing. I just love the smell of rosemary. Oh, it's so good. It's been such an abundant year for chilies this year. It really has. We've had an unusual amount of sunshine here for an Irish summer. Plants like chilies, tomatoes, pumpkins, courgettes, any of those plants that really like the heat, they've just done so well. They're just so productive. I come out here every 3-4 days, strip this many chilies, and then there's more waiting for me the next time I come out. Most of these I'm going to be dehydrating and turning into chili flakes or chili powder. I may even experiment with some and sort of make a fermented hot sauce with them, kind of like sriracha. Here's some scallions. I'm going to pick a few of these. These make a wonderful topping if you slice them into little rings and just sprinkle them on the top of your dishes. They give a nice mild oniony flavour. There's another lovely yellow squash to add to the basket. Yellow courgette, sorry. So this is my cobnut tree, or one of my cobnut trees. Cobnuts are kind of like cultivated hazelnuts. So unlike the wild native Irish hazel, the ones that these produce are much, much bigger. You can see, oh, they're just ready. Anytime I have a strong windstorm, I find all of these scattered across the ground, so it's much easier to pick them just now, just before they end up on the ground. So these are a real treat. And this is a tree that I will be selling on my online store very soon, so keep an eye out. You can grow some for yourself. And this is a French variety of sweet chestnut. So these, although they are not quite ready yet, they're not that far off. Inside here, there's some really tasty, high protein, high fat and starch nuts that are growing for me for free. Very excited to get some of these.